We're going to be answering the question, what is excellence for operations and how do you achieve it? By the end of today's conversation, we're going to teach our listeners to know what is excellence for operations, and we're going to show you how to achieve it. But before we dive into that, let's get that motivational, inspirational, ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Oh, I'd be glad to do it. Make excellence the norm, not the exception.
Make excellence the norm, not the exception. How do you do that? Is that what we're going to get into today?
That's what we're going to talk about, a very specific way of doing that for operations.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, founder and president of McClaskey Excellence Institute, David McClaskey. My man, David, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I absolutely am, Eric.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you.
Thank you for asking.
Of course, man. And, I found you by way of Carolee Fowler, who used to work with Billy Schaefer, who reached out to me and said he was a fan of the show, that he caught Carolee's episode, and he works with you, and he's like, you got to talk to this guy. And Carolee, I hold her in such high esteem. I really enjoyed so much speaking with her, and I know anyone associated with her is got to be, success attracts success.
Oh, you're absolutely. She was in our class, and she's an absolutely brilliant leader.
Yeah, and so when that lead came through, and I instantly checked it out, and then I started reading. I was at your website, and real quick, like, what is it that you do, real quick?
Okay, what do I do? I help service businesses of all type, but mostly restaurants, deliver their products and services 100% of their brand requirement every time.
And you have a really cool stat that you are responsible for 8 Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Awards. There's total seven customers, 8 total awards. What is the Malcolm Baldrige Award?
I'm glad you asked. The United States has a national award. It is the top award for excellence in management and operations. It's called the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. It's actually a law. It's given in the name of the President of the United States. And what the country does is they have an excellent process. To every company that's based in the United States is eligible, so that's over 6 million. They want to find the role models so people can come and learn from them. And that's why the country created the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. And I was fortunate to have been selected to be the person to train the first group of examiners. They said, David, you're great at quality training. Come train our examiners. Yeah.
And one of your clients was the only client that you had that had 2 awards, and that was a past guest. Mm-hmm. That is Herb Schultze with the Ritz-Carlton.
Yes.
He blew my mind.
Oh, he's fantastic. Isn't Horst fantastic?
Gosh. Yeah. So there's a lot of connections here between Restaurant Unstoppable and the work you do and the people I've had on the show. So we're like 1 point removed in many different directions. So I know this is going to be good. So today we're going to be answering the question, what is excellence for operations and how do you achieve it? By the end of today's conversation, we're going to teach our listeners to know what is excellence for operations, and we're going to show you how to achieve it. But before we dive into that, let's get that motivational, inspirational, ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
Oh, I'd be glad to do it. Make excellence the norm, not the exception.
Make excellence the norm, not the exception. How do you do that? Is that what we're going to get into today?
That's what we're going to talk about, a very specific way of doing that for operations.
Yeah, we're going to unpackage it. So, like, just kind of paint the picture. Like, what is, like, if we're like, how do we define like excellence? Like, what is excellence in your mind?
Okay. And I'm going to define excellence for operations, because you could define excellence for anything. But let's talk about operations.
Okay.
And the role of operations is to deliver the products and services and brand experience like cleanliness 100% to the brand requirements, 100% of the time under 100% of the conditions. Operations doesn't select what products they're going to make. They're already selected. They don't select what the locations are. They're already located. They produce the product and service. And there is no right pizza. There is no right hamburger. But there is a hamburger or pizza that beats the brand specifications. Like, I did a lot of work with Domino's biggest franchisee. Domino's has specifications for their pizza. That pizza is only right if it 100% meets Domino's requirements.
Okay. So your sweet spot, people don't reach out to you and say, hey, David, like, help us develop a brand.
That's correct.
That's not your sweet spot.
Oh, absolutely.
You take people who are already doing something, they're doing it well, but you help them go from well or good enough to excellent.
That's it.
Okay.
They already have an existing business. which means their products were already pleasing their customers.
So what is it about you and your backstory that sets you up to be able to do this specific type of work?
And what has enabled me is I've been working with companies for 55 years, helping them improve performance.
Okay.
And related to this Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, it got me connected with the very best in the country, the people that routinely beat their competitors over and over again, year after year. They're the winners. And whenever you run into a company like that, they know something nobody else knows. That's why they're beating their competition.
Are we going to get into what they know?
Yes, we're going to get into it in a way that your podcast listeners can actually use it in their company, because that's what we want. We want them to go out and use it. And that's what we teach in our training class at McClaskey Excellence Institute. We train leaders how to do exactly that and shepherd them through the process.
So get big picture for me real quick. Just like we're in an airplane, we're cruising at 30,000 feet. Touch on like the stops along the way to get to excellence. Like, what does that framing look like?
Okay. And let's start with the clear definition. You are 100% excellent in operations if every time you produce a product and service, it's 100% to the brand requirements, 100% of the time, under 100% of the conditions. So your customers would bet, I bought this product. I don't even have to open it. I know it's 100% right, because this company only produces things that are 100% right. If we go to the world of a drive-through, you're in a drive-through and you've ordered something, it's in the bag. You don't have to open the bag because you know it's 100% right, because that's what they do every time. And we're going to talk about companies. How do they do that with the exact same resources that most people just get it mostly right?
Yeah, you were talking about this before the recording. You said triple 100. So that's 100% of...
So it's basically getting your products and services 100% right. That's the first one.
Got it.
100% of the time.
Got it.
Under 100% of the conditions.
So what do you mean by conditions?
Conditions are when I've talked to thousands and thousands of leaders, and I'll ask them, do you get your products right every time? No, we get it right most of the time. He said, and usually the conversation sounds something like this. We get it right except... when we're understaffed, we have new people, we have a new manager, we're busy, we have a complex order. Those are what we mean by conditions. We're saying the customer doesn't care why you screwed up their order. Don't tell me you were understaffed, or you were undertrained, or you're undermanaged, or you forgot to order stuff. Just give me what I ordered. I paid for it. Give it to me.
Got it.
That's the transaction. No excuses, no asterisks. That's what the 100% conditions mean.
Okay. So... what comes next in the conversation to help us get there?
Okay. If you were to ask, and hopefully this is what your podcast listeners would be asking, I would like to, I don't know anybody in operations that doesn't say, I would like to get my products and services 100% to the brand requirements 100% of the time, even when the manager isn't in the store. I would love that world. People say, my job. We ask managers, we've asked thousands and thousands, what would your job be like if that you could absolutely be assured that your company, your business would only produce the products and services 100% of your brand conditions under any and all circumstances? And they're going, oh my gosh, I could take a vacation and not have to take my phone.
Right.
I have clients that, you know what their objective was?
What?
To be able to eat dinner without having a phone call from one of their managers because something screwed up.
To go to their kid's game.
Yeah, without a phone call.
To go to a friend's wedding.
You got it.
Yeah.
Without having to excuse me, I have an emergency. I remember at one class we taught, one of the owners excused himself for a few minutes. And during break, I said, is there something wrong? And they said, well, it's a little bit of a situation. Said, one of my customers just called me and told me my store wasn't open.
What?
And so I had to check. It turns out my manager quit last night and didn't tell anybody.
Jeez.
So the store's totally not open. And the people with keys are all in the class.
That's wild.
He said, I finally tracked down somebody in our location that has a key that they can go in and open the store, because our employees were also standing outside the store waiting.
Yeah. And this is what you would call a person-dependent operation.
Service is 100% person-dependent.
It is, but it depends. So like when I was growing up, right, I had parents. The whole reason why I started this podcast, I grew up in the restaurant industry.
Yes.
My parents had a very busy restaurant. Lines out the door every weekend. They never saw a day off for 10 years.
There you go.
They barely were getting by, barely making a profit with a line out the door. So they didn't know the business of restaurants. They were just passionate about people and food. But I think where people go wrong is that's why a lot of people get into this industry. They're passionate about people and food, but they don't know how to create a business out of it.
Right.
And they are, the business literally hinges on them. My mom, my dad had to be there for that operation to function. So that was a people dependent operation. So what I'm hearing from you is you need to create a system dependent operation. So the business depends. No.
Yes. Oh, you're absolutely right. It has to be. If your manager's not there, the business still has to run 100% right.
Right.
If your business only runs right when your manager's there, you're never going to get anywhere near close to getting it right every time.
Okay. So how do we do that? How do we achieve that? How do we get to that point where we can go on vacation if we choose?
I'm so glad you asked. And I'd like to tell you how I came up with this path. First of all, I didn't come up with it. I get to work with these role model companies. And some of these restaurants are producing their products and service 100% of the brand requirement, 100% of the time, or 100% of the conditions. I would bet $1,000 of my own money on these companies. You make an order, your order is going to be 100% right. If it's not, I give you $1,000. And I'm going to win almost every time. So I actually got to learn how they do it. Now, they're not in the job of teaching other people, but I am. So I could take how they actually do. So this is a system they figured out. What I did was able to pick it up and be able to explain it to others. And that's what we're talking about here. And that's what we're talking about during this podcast.
Okay. So should we just get into it?
We can.
So what is the first step?
Okay. The first step, and there's 4 steps in this process. And let me just tell you what the 4 steps are, and then we'll go through them one at a time. The 4 steps are think excellence, focus excellence, process excellence, and people excellence.
Okay. Should we just start with think?
Why don't we do that?
Okay, let's go for it.
Let's start. And it actually starts there. Change starts with a change in your thinking. It doesn't start with I do something. I'm doing something different. Because I've thought about something different and I've come up with a different paradigm.
Okay.
And so now here's the basic thought. In service businesses, most managers think it is impossible to get their products and services right every time. It's just impossible. We have all these wonderful, cute sayings. To err is human. So if I'm not making errors, I must not be having any humans. Which is giving way too much credit for robots, by the way.
Right.
So we've institutionalized that whenever you have people involved, you have screw-ups involved.
Yeah.
How about that's not necessarily true? How about the fact that you're okay with screw-ups is what's causing the screw-ups?
Yeah, what's happening every day is the reality of your culture. If you accept it, if you tolerate it, that is your culture.
Yeah.
When I hear you say think excellence, it's behind every great restaurant's a great person. And what they believe, what their thoughts are,
right.
what they expect, they get. Mm-hmm. So if you expect excellence, that's what you'll get. But if you settle for okay or good enough,
right.
That's what you'll get.
Yes.
So what is the key to changing your mindset to accept excellence? Like how do you get over that hurdle of getting to that think excellent mindset?
And part of what we do in the class, that's the first thing we do.
Is there an exercise?
Oh, there's a logic to it. You can think about it.
Okay.
First of all, I ask people, do you get your products and services right every time? Does every customer come in, you get your product, service, and customer experience, things like cleanliness, 100% to your brand requirements. And most people say, no, we don't get it right every time. We get it right most of the time.
That's not good enough.
No, well, that's what everybody's standard is.
Okay.
So you actually have to work really hard to get it right most of the time. But you're totally not differentiated from every other restaurant who's also getting it right most of the time. So you have no advantage whatsoever. You have what we call ordinary operations. Ordinary because that's where 95% of the service businesses are.
Yeah. When you talk about this, it makes me think of this idea of we've learned that the frontal lobe, you have the ability to choose.
Yes.
I think sometimes whether you're in a bad mood in that moment, you can choose to not be in a bad mood.
Yeah, that's correct.
If you're getting certain results and that just keeps that's what's happening.
Yeah.
You can choose to settle for that, or you can choose to not settle for
it.
But whatever you choose as the leader, people are going to follow in your footsteps. So you have to choose excellence. You have to have that mindset.
And we're going to be really more specific. When we say excellence
of operations,
we're going to say you're going to choose to get your brand, what you have to say, your brand's requirements for its service, for its products, and for its customer experience, the things like cleanliness, 100% to your brand requirements, every customer, every time.
So when you're working with your clients to get them to think excellence,
yes.
What is the biggest pushback? Like, is it just that it's good enough?
The biggest pushback is it's impossible.
Okay. And how do you get them to overcome that resistance?
Okay. First of all, I agree with it.
You agree with...
Surely. It is absolutely impossible. Any operation, you go long enough, one of your requirements isn't going to get hit because you are dealing with people and you are dealing with a lot of variables. But here's the thing. If you say, okay, that's the reality and I'm just going to accept that as a reality. And I can tell you how disastrous this is. In most states, in the state of Tennessee, we average about 1,000 traffic fatalities every year. Nobody thinks anything of it. We kill 1,000 people and we maim 20,000 or more, and we do billions of dollars worth of car damage. People just say, well, that's just the cost of driving.
That's the benefit of getting places fast.
Yeah.
It's just the downside of getting places fast.
It's just the price to pay because everybody knows, well, if you drive a car, you might get in an accident. How about if that's not actually really true? That's happening because you assume it's okay. So we don't do things to stop it.
Right.
So if you had a different view that said, I am never going to get in an accident, period.
You start doing things differently.
You start behaving differently.
Yeah.
And that keeps you out of accidents. So the problem wasn't the other drivers. The problem was your attitude that it's okay to drive and get in an accident occasionally. And that's that most idea. Most of the time, I'm not going to get in an accident. But I understand, how about we say it's never acceptable to have an accident?
So is there a correlation here with just finding new standards and holding yourself to a higher standard?
Well, it is, but the owner sets the standard.
Right.
It is your business. Right. And I can tell you how businesses have come to that conclusion. But they're never going to set it when they think it's ridiculous. No one's going to say, let's repeal gravity. I'm just going to repeal gravity and we can float around the restaurant. That's ridiculous. But here's and I want to illustrate this. We like to illustrate it with a Vince Lombardi quote.
Okay.
So Vince Lombardi is the person who the Super Bowl trophy is named after.
Right.
He was the legendary coach of the Green Bay Packers. He took a mediocre team and turned it into a dynasty. How did he do it? So, I mean, all the NFL coaches are some of the best American football coaches in the world. All of them are. But some of them are more distinguished. Here was part of his secret. He said, we are going to shoot for perfection. But here's the part here's where it starts differentiating, which I know will never be achieved. But if we shoot for perfection, we will catch excellence. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
We'll never catch perfection. But if we stop tolerating it being okay to get things wrong and to have screw-ups, we have so many more incidences of them than if we say we're not going to accept it.
Yeah. You make me think of like the power of just having a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yes.
Right.
And in this case, we're actually asking you to set a standard that's impossible. But why do that? Because your quality might be 10 times better.
Yeah. Now you're making me think of my mission statement, which is to inspire, empower, and transform the world, or the restaurant industry. But like I think that if we can change the restaurant industry, we can transform the restaurant industry, we can change the world. And that, even when I say that out loud, like I kind of like chuckle a little bit because I know it's like, who's this guy think he is, right? He's going to change the world with the restaurant industry. But if I go for it, if I shoot for it, if I believe it, even if I don't change the world, I'm going to make a dent.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And you're going to make more of a dent if you actually believe you can change the world through the transformation of the restaurant industry.
Got it.
Because you're not trying to change the world and I have no idea how to do it. You actually said my vehicle that I actually can influence, which you have done the last 12 years, and you've had a profound impact, is I'm going to transform by sharing best practices with people who actually can do something with best practices.
So for me, it's about changing one person at a time.
Yes.
So I know
but
that
it's not just a random person. It's the owner of a business.
Yes. And I think that if you can empower a restaurant owner and you can get them to transform and get them to aspire for greatness, they are going to turn around and it's going to ripple out. It's going to ripple out to their staff. It's going to ripple out to the community. And if you can get restaurant owners rippling out into their communities, raising the bar on communities and the expectations, then if that's happening all over the world, you know what I'm telling me? We can't change the world. Like that's the vision.
You can make a significant impact.
Sorry, go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. And would you like me to give you an example? One of the examples I'd like to give, I got to work with what's probably one of the best operated restaurants, but they're probably one of the best operated service business in the world, and one of only 2 restaurants that have ever won this distinction of being Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. There's only been 2 in 36 years.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, and here it is. Here's how it happened. The owner of that business is Pal Barger. Was Pal Barger. He founded it. He started it in 1956. He always ran good restaurants. His family ran restaurants. He ran good restaurants. But in the mid-'80s, he came to an epiphany that made a difference. He said, because we talked about this personally, he said, we were always a very well-run, ordinary restaurant. But he said, I got to thinking one day, and here's what I thought. I said, if a customer pays full price and I deliver exactly what they ordered to our brand standards, that's a fair transaction. They got exactly what they paid for. Let's take the second case. The customer paid full price and they didn't get our products 100% to our brand requirements. Am I not cheating the customer?
In that moment, yeah, you are.
Yeah. And he said, I am not going to run a business that cheats customers. So I am going to declare, and the owners, you and the owners can do that. I am going to declare that our standard for our brand is you will get every customer's order right. There are no asterisks in that statement. There are no excuses. Every order is going to be 100% right. And from that, that started the transformation. See, it started with Think Excellence. It started with the owners stop accepting most. It started with the owner saying, I owe it to every customer to get what they ordered, what we promised, not extra stuff in the bag. I'm talking about deliver what it was that we promised them when they paid their money.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master of restaurant systems and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
So I hear this, and I know people are listening to this and thinking, okay, like they're thinking, okay, Dave, like I can think excellence.
Yes.
But how do I get my team to buy into that?
But it starts with you saying this is the standard for our brand. And now we're going to have to figure out how to do it.
Does that lead into the second part?
It then starts leading to the second one, which you already illustrated. Yeah. Tell me your mission again.
To inspire, empower, and transform the industry so that we can change the world.
And right now you're a one-person operation, right?
Well, I have Jared, my editor.
Okay,
I got Jared
a two-person operation. That's helping both of you shape your behaviors, who you pick, what kind of interviews you, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
What kind of podcast listeners you seek out. That's exactly what Focus Excellence is about. You can't get people to work together unless they have a common objective to work towards. Now, I will tell you the common objective of every business in the world. It is to delight their customers in a way that creates loyalty, which means when they have a need for the product that you sell, they choose you rather than one of your competitors.
Got it.
That when you talk about, that's really the base, because there almost is no business that's not dependent on repeat business. And what's the biggest factor in repeat business? What kind of experience they had the last time they did business with you.
Consistency.
And so getting everybody focused on the same objective is really important. And let me illustrate how important that is. What's the chance, if you had 20 people in the room, that somebody's going to get to Detroit in the next 6 months? Probably pretty close to zero.
What do you mean by get to Detroit?
I mean they actually physically get into the Detroit city limits.
Oh, okay.
Just probably zero unless there was an intention.
Right. Okay.
That we're all
why would anybody be going to Detroit?
That's it. Now, randomly, they might be driving through to Chicago or something. But if I want to, I got to get all 20 people there.
Right.
I have to have a mission of we're all going to show up in Detroit at Wednesday morning at 5:00, and we all can do that. But without a common mission, all you have is random behaviors.
Okay, so in the 4 pillars to the path of excellence of operations, the first stop is think excellence.
Yes, which means you as the owner have to get committed to saying my standard, because the only person that sets the brand standards for your business is the person who owns the business.
And the second step is?
The second step is focus excellence.
Okay, and focusing
and that means get everybody focused on your company's mission. And most missions are totally worthless. So the first thing we have to do is get a non-worthless mission. And I can tell you, basically, you want the short version, because about 20 minutes we get people to do a good mission, is delight customers the way they create loyalty is basically the mission of every business there is. And how do we delight the customers? This is where operations comes in. One of the key factors, not the only factor, but one of the key factors is delivering our products and services that we promised our customers when they did business with us, 100% to the brand requirements, 100% of the time, under 100% of the conditions. That's operations' role in achieving that mission.
Okay. So do you want to go more into how to develop? Are you saying that should be our mission? Is everyone going to have the same exact mission?
I'm saying if you wanted a short version, that ought to be everybody's mission.
Okay.
And then we ask, from operations view, they can't just, like if you're Domino's, you can't be selling hamburgers or sausages or non-brand products. You can only do it by delivering the product the brand promised. Only a Domino's pizza or Domino's authorized products and services, and only the Domino's way. So you are restricted by the only way you can do it is to deliver the brand standard products. You can't delight customers any other way. Operations can only do it with the brand standard authorized products. And so their job is fairly focused. We actually know how to make this product. We've been making it for years.
Yeah.
All we have to do is make it every time to the brand requirement. That's what focus excellence is about.
So in terms, back to this idea of like developing a mission that people will get behind to serve the destination, where we're going, what our purpose is. I think of like Simon Sinek, and he says, start with why.
It's start with why.
So in the back of our minds, when we're developing our mission, why is it so important to understand why?
Well, and really this why is really a what.
Okay.
When you say delight customers, it's not only the why, but it's the what we do.
Okay.
And then you need to have purpose. That's important. What you find is that really every age group has, but it's even more important for the younger generation, but important for everybody. Why do I come to work? Well, I have to earn money and this kind of stuff. That's a really good reason to come to work. It's not very inspiring.
Right.
How about I come to work so I can delight every customer every time? So let me give you an example. I got to work with PALS for 20 years, heading up their Business Process Excellence Institute, which is now the McClaskey Excellence Institute. But for 6 weeks to learn it, I actually worked as a crew person. So I said, you got to treat me like a regular crew person. So I actually got that experience. So you think about what's going on here. Their standard is I can tell you, it is delight every customer every time in a way that creates loyalty. And so all of us, everybody in the store, and they have 31 stores, they have 1,400 employees. Every one of them is focused on a single objective: delight every customer every time. And what is PALS Sudden Service? You can think of it as a McDonald's with a drive-through only and about 1/5 the products. They sell hamburgers and hot dogs through a drive-through only quick service restaurant environment. And they're a regional, so they're in Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. And so what is their mission? Delight customers in a way that creates loyalty. And so what do? There's a customer at the window. Our job is to get that customer's order 100% right. So we have to listen to what the customer says. We have to make the products 100% to the brand requirements. We have to make sure that's what goes through the window.
Yeah.
And then, okay, a car leaves PALS every 18 seconds. So
so I got here this morning. We connected this morning. Since then, I've been doing just a little bit of driving.
Yeah.
I drove around Johnson City. I went for a bike ride around. I did about a 20-mile bike ride, and I saw 4 of these locations in a
fantastic.
very tight like in a small like circumference, like a pretty relatively small diameter radius. Like there's a lot of those things here, and every one that I drove past there was a train of cars.
Isn't that amazing?
Wrapped around this building.
Now drive through. And this is what you pick. What's the business reason?
At 3:00 in the afternoon,
which is the slowest time for quick service restaurants that there is. I mean, you want to talk slow time? 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right, and every location, no matter what time of day it was. I stopped for coffee this morning. Got
out of Pal's.
A line around it.
Yeah.
Like
and
all day.
And that line moved fast, didn't it?
It was moving fast.
So let me give you some So here's the thing. People don't realize how much impact excellence in operations has. People think it's a 5% factor. How is about a 50 to 100% factor without any cost? With no ongoing costs.
Yeah.
Actually reduce hassle. So let me give you some facts on Pal's. You'll just absolutely blow your mind. So Pal's biggest competitor is McDonald's. All the nationals are here. So let's talk about some comparisons. They have 4 times the repeat business.
Wow.
When is any time you ever heard somebody say a company has 400% more repeat business than the global leader in size, which is what McDonald's is for hamburger-related quick service restaurants? Let's talk about another data. A car leaves every 18 seconds. They are 4 times faster.
That's wild.
So you can get in a line. This is really important at lunch and anytime. So you can get in a line that is 4 times, 400% longer at Pal's, and you will be off the Pal's property before a McDonald's customer in 1/4 the line length would be off the McDonald's property.
That's crazy.
Isn't that? And that's why. So let's talk about some speed without quality has no value. Let's see how many. But Pal's, while they're going 4 times faster, is 10 times more accurate. Why are they 10 times more accurate? Because their standard is every customer's order is going to be right.
Let's apply this idea of focus excellence to the Ritz-Carlton. How does this manifest there?
Well, it's absolute. So you think about the Ritz-Carlton experience. They have it in their Credo card. It's the ambiance to create an exceptional experience. And the way you create an exceptional experience is you don't irritate your guests. And so they're absolutely fantastic about making sure that everything is right. For example, the biggest factor in hotels is cleanliness. Now, Ritz-Carlton has very high cleanliness standards, and they want to make sure every room before the housekeeper leaves the room is 100% to Ritz-Carlton's exacting room cleanliness specs. Now, think about these people have some pretty high net worth in some of these rooms. Right. You can think about what they're used to, and they go to Ritz-Carlton's because Ritz-Carlton meets that standard every time.
Got it. So we're still on the subject of focus excellence, and we do that with a clear destination of what why we're doing this.
Right. And we get everybody bought. And let me give you an example of how impactful this is. Because everybody that's excellent and extraordinary in their operations is extremely good at using their mission statement. In most companies, it's a hustle run.
Yeah.
So I work for Pal's. So I'm certified in making Frenchy fries. So that's what I did for 6 weeks. So I make thousands and thousands of bags of Frenchy fries. So the first thing is they said, well, okay, we're going to train you in Frenchy fries.
Is that what they call them there, Frenchy fries?
They call them Frenchy fries because that's what the owner named them.
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, well, actually.
I wasn't sure if this was a David thing or a Pal's thing.
No, this is actually a Pal's thing.
Got it.
So Pal's would refer, and Pal's customers do as well.
I love it.
They say, give me a bag of Frenchy
fries. Well, that's culture.
Fries.
When the culture extends out to your, that's when you know you got something.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Mario Del Piero from Mendocino's Farm spoke about this. Yeah. Every organization, your culture is starting to catch hold when the people start using a specific language that's unique to your brand.
And Pal's Pal's influences the culture.
Yeah.
People say, oh, I'm from Northeast Tennessee. Oh, do you know about Pal's? So let's go back a little bit further. So here's how it could work. So I'm making French fries. And the first thing in the training they said was, okay, we're going to train you to make French fries, but before we even let you near our French fry station, you have to make us a promise. You will never, ever, under any condition whatsoever, and nobody can overrule you, ever let a bag of French fries out of the French fry station that doesn't 100% meet our brand requirements. Period. That's your job. And if you won't promise that, we're not going to let you anywhere near our French fry station.
So I think this might come later in the conversation, so I'm going to hold that question. But one thing I am curious about, and I just want to get your take on this. So as the world around us evolves,
yes.
You're hearing a lot of people, and we're talking relative to culture, relative to the new workforce.
Right.
It's no longer enough to like have a mission statement that is just relative to the store operation. You want to shoot higher for a bigger mission statement that pulls people in, that somebody wants to be a part of, like making a bigger difference.
But here's an interesting thing. It is a worthy objective to actually deliver what you promised to your customer every time. That is actually, so what is this? You say, oh, what are you guys doing? You're putting hamburgers in a bag. What kind of, that's extraordinary. People are absolutely fantastic. They're saying, look, we go and we get it right every time. We get this wonderful big pal every time, and we don't have to worry about somebody not getting it right. That's I can tell you, the worthy objective isn't to change the world at Pals. It's to get everybody's order right. Something that nobody else in the industry is doing. That's what makes it a worthy objective. We are going for the Olympics. We are not going for an also-run pedestrian restaurant.
How do you get somebody to buy into that?
Actually, how did they get me to buy into it? I worked for them for 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
First of all, they tell you right away their mission is to delight customers the way that we create loyalty. Every customer, every time, no excuses, no exception. We all have to do our job to get that, because any one of us could cause a screw up. If you're not committed to that, you can't work for us.
Okay.
So first of all, and that's our objective. Don't ever disappoint that customer by giving them anything other than the brand standard product, exactly what they ordered.
So it's really having a standard on an individual on individuals who only accept the standard.
Yeah,
if they don't accept it.
That's right. You're not working there.
Yeah.
And if your behavior doesn't correspond to that, you're out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can't afford to have people working for you that don't buy into your mission.
Hire slow, fire fast.
Yes. But the idea is that we don't even ask people to enroll. What do they enroll? Oh, well, come work for us. We'll earn money and you kind of do stuff. No, that's not much of a purpose at all. We are going to nail each customer's order right every time. Every one of our customers can be delighted. You're part of a team that does that. You're part of an Olympic award-winning team, and your role is critical. So anyway, that was enrolled right from the start, and everybody around you has the same. You know what the biggest concern of Pals employees are?
What's that?
We might be the one that made a mistake that caused the wrong order to go to the customer. We don't want to be that person. So what do? We pay attention to what we're doing, which gets us over to process excellence. We pay attention to what we're doing. Why? Because we don't want to be the one to disappoint that customer, because we really care that the customer gets their order right. Now, think about it this way. This is a hamburger in a bag. I also work with healthcare and hospitals.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the health of an individual that could be life or death. It's the same thing. If you don't enroll people in the idea that we do no harm, we do because people in hospitals will die the very best, but sometimes they die due to avoidable mistakes.
Sounds like you're vertically integrating your clients now. You get them with the burger, and then you have the clients with
let's say the delight is true for every kind of business, and it doesn't matter the order of magnitude. It's not hamburgers. Oh, that's nothing in hospitals or something. No, the worthy purpose is for the company you work for, and the worthy purpose is to treat the customer, deliver what it was that you promised the customer. Not most of the time. That's what everybody's doing.
Okay.
But every time, without fail, that's an Olympic athlete. That's an Olympic world-class team.
So we've covered the two of the four pillars to the excellence of operations.
Yes.
The first one is think excellence. The second one is focus excellence. And what is the third?
The third one is process excellence.
Okay.
So now think where it is. The management and everybody's there about we're going to get every customer right every time. The mission is to delight every customer in a way that creates loyalty because we get their products and services right. We, the employees, don't figure out what right is. That's what the brand did. So how about giving us instructions? And the parallel we talk about is let's talk about your GPS and using instructions to get somewhere.
So we're going to Detroit.
Yeah, so we're going to Detroit. We put in the exact address we want.
So now we know where we're going.
And the GPS gives us the exact steps to get from where we are to the exact location in Detroit that we want to be at.
Okay, so it's not enough to say we're going to Detroit. You're taking this route.
Yeah, and here is the proven path to get there. If you will follow these steps, even before you leave the parking lot in Tennessee, we will 100% guarantee that you will be at this spot because these instructions, which is the process is nothing but a series of steps that get you from where you are to where you want to be.
And we know the best route to get there because we've done this thousands of times.
And then there's some characteristics of these steps. They first of all deliver you in the exact address, and they're also efficient. So there's effectiveness, which means you deliver the product to the brand requirements every time if you follow the steps and you're reasonably efficient.
Yeah. So if you're going from Tennessee to Detroit, you're not making a stop in Seattle.
Like Los Angeles, yes.
Yeah.
or yes.
Yeah.
And because when I travel from Alberta, Canada back to Tennessee, they route me to Seattle first, which is exactly the wrong direction. We're going from the middle of Canada to the West Coast because that's the plane that gets me back towards Tennessee.
And this is interesting because, I mean, with a concept like PALS, where they're about efficiency and accuracy and getting people through the line, right? That's part of their brand.
Speed is really, but speed never trumps getting the order right. The primary objective is you never get the order wrong under any condition, but we're going to not only get the order 100% right, we're going to do it 4 times faster than our competitors.
But maybe you have a different concept. That's maybe a 3-star Michelin restaurant.
Let's talk about 3-star Michelin restaurants.
You're taking the scenic route.
Yeah, well, no, it's a different standard.
Okay.
And it reminded me of a time I was doing some consulting for John Deere in Germany.
Okay.
And they took me to a historic.
Is John Deere based in Germany?
They have a division in Germany. Their region 2 is in Europe.
If they're based in Europe and they have a U.S. market, what a way to name a U.S. brand.
Yeah. Well, it started obviously in Moline, Illinois.
Got it.
But they're worldwide. And their region 2 I was doing consulting with is based in Germany.
Got it.
And so I came over there and they were nice enough to take me to dinner. So they took me to this really nice Michelin star restaurant. Nice because they're also paying. And here was the interesting thing, was that it took forever for the waiter to get to us. It took forever for our food to get there. And then the whole time we ate, there was no service people in sight. And I'm trying to get my water refilled, and there's nobody to even look at, And so I talked to my German hosts, and I said, you said this was an excellent restaurant. I don't see any evidence of service. And they said, David, you don't understand what we value in a restaurant. You're from America. This is a German restaurant. Because we don't go out to eat very often like you folks, because it's really expensive to go out to eat. And when we go out to eat, this table is going to turn 1 time in an evening. You guys want 3 to 4 turns of a table? And so they feel that if the waiter's kind of hovering over, that we're trying to push you guys out the door. So they deliberately make the waiter disappear so that we don't feel like we're being rushed out the door, because we are there to spend the evening together. And I went, okay, notice it was a totally different standard that they were absolutely delighted with.
Yeah. And I'm happy you're getting, sorry, did I cut you short?
No.
I'm happy you're getting into this because one thing that I've learned, so when I started this podcast, the goal was to literally shine a spotlight on the path to take to be successful.
The path for excellence.
This is the way to do it. The more I learned, the more I realized there is no one way. There is so there's so many different paths you can take, but whatever your path is for your brand and your mission, it has to be consistent, because that's what you're doing. So it doesn't have to be what the person down the street's doing. You want to offer a different experience.
Surely.
Yeah.
A Michelin star would be very different from a McDonald's. I would hope one of the keys that we didn't talk about, but there's a lot of content in each of these pillars, is key customer requirements. The Michelin star restaurant in Germany has different key customer requirements than PALS in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And one of them is a very big difference in speed.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to share a personal story. Recently, relaunching like my whole business model.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Trying to focus less on revenue from my sponsors and trying to create a listener supported podcast.
Oh, great.
And I hired coaches to figure out, how do I, use this new platform and how do I create a product that I can sell and not be so dependent on revenue from sponsors. So they started saying, well, you need to create this journey, this path, this customer journey.
Right.
And you need to map out the way that you're going to help your people. And what I kept on trying to explain to them is like, my audience is massive and there is no one path. I can't be say like, this is how you do it, because that's not what I'm here to do. My job is to listen to you, to figure out who you are, what your values are, what your strengths are, what market are you in, what's your destination, what matters. Like every person in this industry is in it for a different reason, right? Like there's a million and one different reasons why you might be in love with the restaurant industry.
Yes.
So my job is to help you figure out what's your destination, and based off of what you're trying to do, what your values are, let's help you figure out what the path for you based like off your uniqueness. Right. So how do I create a course to do that?
Okay. And in the part that all results, you don't have a brand unless there's some consistency. Now the consistency could be every day our Michelin star chef comes up with an entirely new menu. It's not available till 4:00 and it's unique every day. That's your brand. You expect to do that every day and not have repeats. You go to a quick service restaurant, we have the same product for the last 10 years. And this is exactly what it is and no change. So basically the brand sets the requirements, but then what operations does, that's not an operations function.
Yeah, because we're back here, we're process excellence.
Yeah, and we're back with operations. But operations is producing the product that the brand has decided to produce. And so if they order this item, like a quarter pounder, you're going to get a quarter pounder because people are going to follow the same process. Because we didn't ask operations what a quarter pounder, this isn't your version of a quarter pounder. This is the brand's version of a quarter pounder.
So what are the steps to achieving process excellence?
So process excellence are if we go to the GPS, they are the instructions. And if you read what's on the page, remember the end result is the product and service 100% to the brand requirements 100% of the time. If you follow these instructions that are on the page that we wrote out in our process, you will get from where you are to that to the deliverable for that process every time.
Yeah. You're reminding me of somebody I had on the show, Rudy Mick. Are you familiar with Rudy Mick? It's a small industry. Not. So he said, your job as a restaurant owner is to paint the picture of what the job done right looks like. And in my mind, that's what procedures, recipes, checklists are.
Okay. And I would contend to say that's the end result. Your job is also to tell them from where the starting point is to get to what that picture is.
Okay.
So part of process excellence is to have people recognize when they produced what they're supposed to produce. And let me give you an example. And this, almost every one of your restaurant customers can relate to this. Almost everybody has prep material in their refrigerators. Now, here's a question I ask owners. How many of you would bet $1,000 if we went to the prep material in your refrigerators right now? Would every container of that prep material 100% meet your standards for that prep material? Do you know how many owners will place the bet on their own brand in their own stores? Almost none. Now, I would bet for Pal Sudden Service, you can go into any one of the 31 stores. You could look at every one of the prepped items in the refrigerators. Every one of it's going to 100% meet the brand requirements. Why? Because the person doing the prep wouldn't have put it in the refrigerator. They know what the standards are. They were empowered to check what they did against the standard. And they're empowered to never pass anything on that doesn't 100% meet the standards. Because if you screw up the lettuce and the onions and the tomatoes, then the person can't make the hamburger to a standard.
Yeah.
And then everything starts cascading in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So can you see the process is the steps that we tell the prep person? This is what you do to prep tomatoes to our standard. This is what you do to prep onions. Lettuce, no brown spots is part of the standard. So if you see any brown spots, they come out. They don't go into the refrigerator.
Yeah. Now you're making me think about my drive from New Hampshire to Tennessee, right?
Okay.
So in every step along the way, for example, when I drive through Virginia, I don't speed.
Right.
Because I know that if I speed in Virginia,
yeah,
I'm getting a ticket. So
there you go.
So that's a different part of the journey, or different part of the
Yes.
experience of getting someplace. So you have to treat it differently.
You do.
Yeah.
But you can see your GPS is giving you your instructions how to go to destinations. And you're probably pretty sure if I follow these instructions, I'll get to the destination.
Right.
You got here.
Right.
And I'll bet you followed your GPS instructions.
I'm great at following blue lines all over.
See, that's what a process is.
Yeah.
So if you think about GPS, that's what a process is. And here's the challenge. If you actually follow what's written in your approved process, will it get you to your approved product or service for that process every time? If not, your process isn't written right.
Yeah, and we
teach people how to do that.
Okay, so where do you see people going wrong with how they write their process?
Well, it's interesting. I used to think that brands would have the most carefully developed processes there would be. It's the same product they've been producing for years. It turns out their processes are relatively sloppy as well.
So where do people struggle with?
They leave out detail that's important.
Okay.
They put steps that the steps are generally correct. But if you follow them every time, there's interpretation, like put on ketchup, put on this. And it's not very precise as to what you want it to do.
Yeah, like 4 ounces of ketchup.
Yeah, and I would tell you, if you looked at Powell's standard for how to put on ketchup, it's extremely precise. And that's the standard. And that's in the process.
Yeah.
And so people are too general. And I can tell you what happens in quick service restaurants. I don't know what you like to do for fun, but I'll go to national brands and order a plain hamburger, ketchup only. Probably the simplest order you can possibly make. You know what happens? Same store, same order. No, just plain hamburger, ketchup only. I get anywhere from 1 dot of ketchup to what I call my 10 napkin hamburger. It takes me 10 napkins worth of wiping off ketchup before I can eat the hamburger. Same order.
Because you put 4 ounces on, like I just said.
And part of it is their instructions didn't say, I want 2 ounces in this configuration. And sometimes they put the right amount in, like with Subway. Oh, you got the right amount, but it's in the wrong place. It's not uniformly distributed.
And that's where we can use tools in the kitchen, like a gun that you pull a trigger and it's the same amount of ketchup every time.
And here we're talking about the process to get it there. What is it supposed to look like?
Yeah. And how do we tweak the process to what can we do to make it consistent? How can we empower the employee to do it consistently every time?
Okay, that's a little bit different.
Okay.
All we want here is the sheet of paper right.
Okay.
The employee isn't even near it. We just want the instructions right. I want to hand you the GPS instructions, and here they are that will get you from here to your next destination.
Got it.
That's what the process is.
Got it.
Now, the next step is people excellence, which is getting people to actually follow the process. So now you've had it. I got to get you to actually follow the instructions or it won't get you where you want to go.
Yeah. You mentioned, before we get to people excellence, you mentioned something that kind of stood out to me. And it's like you want to empower your people to do it, meaning, and
that's part of people excellence. That's right. That's part of people excellence.
Okay. So far we've covered out of the 4 pillars of the path to excellence for operations.
Yeah.
We covered think excellence. We've covered focus excellence. We've covered process excellence. Are we ready to get into people excellence?
I think we are.
Let's get into it.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's be profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master on restaurant systems and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
So think about where we are. The leaders have set the standard. It's every customer's order right every time, which means we deliver what we promised. Everybody is committed to our mission of delight customers every time in a way that creates loyalty. And we do that in operations by getting the products 100% of the brand requirements 100% of the time under 100% conditions. I have instructions, which is the process steps, that for any product I ask you to make, anything I ask you to do, here's the instructions. And if you precisely follow what's written down, it will deliver the brand product every time and do it in a reasonably efficient manner. Now the next challenge is getting people to follow the instructions. Every employee, every time, even if there's no manager in the area. Now, here's sort of the big trick. Now, this is what we teach in our Achieving World-Class Results class. I mean, we teach this entire sequence. So we teach people how to actually do it, and then they go out and do it as part of the class. So here's how, and people will say, well, I can't get people to follow instructions. Well, actually, you can. PALS, if we look at it, if we take the example when I was doing Frenchy fries there, it's a 20-step process. I followed every one of those 20 steps every time very precisely. It was the only way I could produce those French fries to 100% meet the brand standards every time. And if I made a mistake, I had to do it over. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, you can't just, if it's not 100%, it doesn't go forward.
Got it.
So get it right or you have to do it over. So I concentrate on that. But the steps are right. Now the question is, how did they get me to focus on doing that every time, even when there's no manager around? So how do you get employees to do that? So first of all, I'm committed to the mission. I do not want to be the one that caused this customer to not be delighted because I made the French fries wrong. And the only way I can delight them is to meet the brand requirements. For example, I filled the bags. You know, I not only cooked the French fries, but I filled the bags from batches to bags that are sold. And there's a certain designated amount of ounces of fries that go in those bags. What if I think about, okay, it says, let's just make up a number, 4 ounces. But I'm going to delight the customers and I'm going to put 6 ounces in the bag. That customer will be really delighted until they come back and somebody serves the standard and now they think you're cheating them.
Yeah.
The only way I can delight, it's not the customer, it's the stream of customers. The only way I can delight a stream of customers is to deliver the product and services 100% to the brand requirement. Everything else causes customers not to be delighted.
Yeah. If you want that, so I think it's McDonald's that does this. They intentionally overfill the French fries, but they account for it. But what they're trying to do is to deliver the sense of over delivering. Okay,
now this gets to be problematic. Is that everybody in every McDonald's, or is that one shift with one manager in one McDonald's?
So I think that, I heard this secondhand. Okay, so I don't know how accurate this is.
And it may not be McDonald's, but yes.
If you go to McDonald's, I used to go to McDonald's often when I was a younger person. Almost always there was French fries in the bottom of the bag. So I think that their consistency in scooping and putting the fries in, they had a process for making sure that was consistent, but there was always consistently more that could fit in the actual French fry holder.
Yeah.
But the number of fries was always consistent, but it was always overflowing to create perceived value.
So here, if you don't exactly deliver the brand amount every time, customers are going to think you're cheating them whenever you overfill.
In this scenario, the brand amount was to overflow, and that's consistent.
Okay, now that's different. If
they account for it.
If that's your brand requirement, which it is for some brands.
Right.
We not only fill the bag, we throw extra stuff in the bag. One brand, but it has to be every time. But it has to be the brand requirement.
Exactly.
And we have to meet it every time. So the brand can set any requirement they want. But then operations' job is to meet that brand requirement every time.
So how do we do that?
Okay, so you do that by following the process.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
So people excellence, getting people to follow the process. How do we actually get people
now? How do you get people to follow the process? And we learned this by going to restaurants like Powell's Sudden Service, like when K&N Management won the Baldrige with their Rudy's and Mighty Fine Concept, people like Ritz-Carlton. How do they get people to how do they get housekeepers who are cleaning thousands of rooms collectively?
Gross things. I don't even want to think about
you can, and they get it 100% to the brand requirement for that room's left every time. So how do you get this to happen? And part of this is this focus on the people and the instructions are right.
Right.
Now, we've got those, so you got to do those parts. Now let's talk about how we set that person up.
David, the suspense is killing me.
I'm so glad. Why don't we start with the one that people fail at the most? We want people. So first of all, we have to describe what behavior we want. See, we're so vague about stuff. So we got to turn things about what do we really want? We want our crew people, our team members to precisely follow the steps of the approved process every time, even if there's no leadership in the area. So that's a behaviorally specific objective. And you know what? Every operations manager can watch their people work and can tell if they're following the steps or not. That's a pretty good universal measure.
So what am I hearing from you? Is it to create a flat hierarchy where everybody treats it like they own it?
Well, that's really too very vague. First of all, you just have to think what the objective is. The objective is a behavioral objective. If I watch employees and they are precisely following the steps of the process, the approved process, every time, under every condition, operations gets 100% in people excellence. So how do we get that to happen? Because people are cutting corners all the time. But they're cutting corners because we've created it. So how does this work? First of all, we are talking about the crew person's behavior. And the only person that controls the team member's behavior is the team member. So that's the person. What does the manager do? The manager creates the environment in which the employee makes the decision. So how do we set this up? First of all, we ask people, when people have finished your training, what % of the time can they do the job 100% right? You know what the answer is?
80%.
Yeah, 85. The average has been very close. Very, very good answer. 75%. This is a poll of about 10,000 service managers.
Why not 100%?
Because they have no intention of people doing it 100% right. Remember the standard of Think Excellence was most? Why would you train for 100% if you didn't ever expect it to happen in the first place? I can tell you, let's talk about driving. Do you know the training we give people to drive a car to get a driver's license?
No,
is not designed to keep people out of accidents. It's just designed to minimize the accidents and not have any more than we usually have. When you design the training for 100%, you design different kinds of training. Now, we can deliver training to 100%. Now, what does training to 100% mean? When they're done with the training, they can precisely do, this is a skill step and a knowledge step. They can precisely do every step of the approved process 100% exactly the way it's written in the process.
So is the key to people excellence getting people to follow the recipe training? Is that the answer?
Well, no, that's one of the answers. There's actually 9 elements that have to come together.
Are we going to share these or is this a teaser?
Well, we won't go through all of them, but we'll go to one or two of them.
Give me 3. Can I get 3?
Okay, I'll give you 3.
Thank you.
First one is training to 100%. Almost everybody else is training to 75%.
Okay.
So in other words, you can't get people to precisely, and let me give you an example of that with driving. I was originally from Miami. I came up here 55 years ago. The thing about Miami, there's 2 things about Miami and driving. I've driven there all my life. First of all, there's no snow and there's no hills. Roads are perfectly flat and no one's even seen frost. So I come to Tennessee and they have more hills and curves that I have never driven in before in my life. And then came snow and ice. I am a 100% trained driver from Miami.
I've been to, I know what it's like. Yeah.
I am not a 100% trained driver when I first came up to Tennessee. So what did I do the first winter in Tennessee? I drove my car off the road 7 times in icy conditions.
Learn fast.
Well, actually, I don't know if that's fast learning, but I was off the road. Now, fortunately, I never hit any of the cars. And this was such a regular thing that I already had a contract with a tow truck. Drive my car off the road because once you get it off, you can't get it back in.
Yeah.
I would get out of my car. People would come by. Very nice people would drive me home. I call the tow truck driver, tell him where the car is. As soon as the ice goes away, they call my car back because I also didn't damage my car. They'd haul my car back to my driveway and repeat the process until I learned how to drive 100% right in Tennessee roads. And so we're all the time training people to do things 75% right. And there's a consequence to that. We don't train people how to do the job right. And I can tell you, just an example in a quick service restaurant. This particular brand sells sundaes with syrup. And I'm sort of like the ice cream in a cup, but I don't like the calories. So I'll say a sundae, no syrup. 1/3 of the people there can't actually know how to enter that order into the point of sales device.
Oh, wow.
Because they were never trained to do that. but they are not allowed to dismiss me and say, can you go to someone else, please? It's like, I'm stuck with you. And I can't place an order if it doesn't go into the POS system. So I have to go ask somebody. So first of all, I look like an idiot in front of my customer. The person come over to help me is mad because I interrupted them. And because we didn't set that person up for 100% success. We set them up to fail. 25% of the time. So the first thing is train to 100%. And that means they can follow the steps of the process, precisely follow the steps of the process under any condition they're faced at work, which is both a knowledge and a skill.
It's constant, it's continuous training.
Well, but I don't know that that's really true.
So you train once and never train again?
Actually, you can train to get it right. And because the nice thing about operations is you're not talking about a change in objective. Do you have to go to driver training dozens of times?
For a pilot.
Well, how about for a person that's driving a car?
Yeah, I hear you. Less risk.
And the difference, the reason they do it for pilots is because they have a higher standard, because this is such a great example. Cars were okay with killing people.
Yeah.
Planes were not okay with killing people. So we have higher standards for every aspect of operating that plane, from the licenses to the retraining to the maintenance. Why? Because in one case, if you were to go to the Delta CEO and say, how many plane crashes of Delta planes are you planning for this week or this year? They would say 0. You go to the State Highway Patrol and you say, how many traffic deaths are you planning in Tennessee roads? They would say about 1,000. That's what we had last year.
Got it.
We would like it to be longer, but we're okay. And all of our systems are designed to meet the standard that we set. That was that Think Excellence. So let's go to people excellence. First of all, we train people to 100%.
So that's the first one.
That's the first of setting the set together. Another one is coach to 100%.
Okay.
Because once you have people trained, everybody needs coaching. Mm-hmm. Now, if you think about athletes, you think about any pro athlete, what do you see? You see the team and you see the coaches. Mm-hmm. They have to actually pay for these coaches. If we're watching them on TV, chances are they are the very best in the world.
Right.
And they have coaches.
Yeah.
I can tell you the most phenomenal person I ever saw on TV. It just absolutely blew my mind that this person was on TV. When Tiger Woods was at the very peak of his golf career, and people were saying, there's never been a golfer, maybe other than Jack Nicklaus, that's been as good as Tiger Woods. It was Tiger Woods' coach being interviewed.
Interesting.
And I'm going, hold it. This guy who's acknowledged to be the world's best at that time, and maybe only one other person might even be close to being equal to him. And then during the interview, the guy said, I'm just one of 3 of Tiger Woods' coaches. And you're saying, if the best in the world needs coaches, don't you think our employees need that?
Yeah. So training in this example would be teaching them the game of basketball. Coaching is helping them become a better version.
Well, in this case, it's a little different. Because we're talking about operations. So training is get them to be able to precisely follow each step of the approved process for whatever processes are involved in their job.
What's
that doesn't change.
Okay.
Those are the same processes next year as they were last year. Okay. And if you change a little bit, you then train on that part.
So what's coaching?
So coaching is when people don't precisely follow the steps of the process.
Okay.
And you say, so the only 2 kinds of coaching are this. You didn't precisely do that step right. Let me give you corrective coaching. Second kind of coaching, which is really important, is you followed all the steps right. Let me give you some positive reinforcement. Because it's really important that over half of what you tell your team members is actually positive. Most of your team members are doing it right most of the time.
They never know they are.
If the only time they hear from their managers when they screw up, it doesn't create the kind of atmosphere that leads to 100%. And so you have to think, people missing a step, even your best employee, even the best basketball player in the world is going to miss some things. You know, you didn't quite do this right. You didn't quite do that right. And here we're talking about a prescribed set. This is not something like basketball that there's a lot of changing circumstances. No, these are the same inputs with the same product in the same equipment done in the same way. We're talking about a very, very stable system. You just need to precisely follow the steps.
Okay.
Period.
So we've covered think excellence, we've covered focus excellence, we've covered process excellence, we've covered people excellence. 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
Training, coaching. What's the third one you want?
Okay. The third one I would put is self-management.
Okay.
Now, you can't get to 100% if you don't know if what you were supposed to produce is what you actually produced. And let me talk to the GPS example. Let's say you were trying to get to a hotel and you put in the GPS, the address, and you're looking at it, and you're looking at a field saying, oh, this is obviously not a hotel, or it's not the name of the hotel it's supposed to be. I can tell something's wrong, and I'm empowered to say, oh, what's wrong here? So I can see that, I entered the wrong address. So I'm empowered to put the right address in my GPS and then follow the instructions. Or I'm empowered to hold it. Maybe I've got the wrong address. I entered in the address. This isn't it. I need to call somebody to get the right address. I know what the approved product looks like if it's 100% to the brand requirements. This is what you had said earlier about we give a vision of what the product looks like.
Yeah.
This is why people do plating tests in a lot of restaurants. Here's what this is supposed to look like when it's on a plate.
Yeah.
If it doesn't look like this, it's not meeting our brand standard.
Got it.
Now, I remember my first job was actually a busboy, and it was in a full-service restaurant, and the manager was the expo. So everything came out of the kitchen, came through the manager. And if anything wasn't 100% to the plating and standards, the manager put it back in the kitchen because he said, nothing goes through me that's not 100% right. And he said, I don't allow my wait staff to make that decision. I'm the one over the whole restaurant. And I am going to assure that only 100% properly cooked and plated food is served to our guests. And that's the kind of thing we're talking about is that, but then there would be the coaching that says, well, you didn't quite do this right. We need to talk to you about it. So everybody, even your best performers will sometimes miss steps. And that's what coaching is about. We need to say it's not okay because the real standard is not what you have on that sheet of paper. It's what the manager sees and ignores. If they said, well, that's not exactly right. You put a little too much, a little bit too little. That's not right. At Pals, we have a very precise how much goes in the bag of fries for regular or large. If it's too little or too much, we dump the bags right out and re-bag it until it hits the target. We don't ever let it go out unless it hits the weight standard.
Got it. David, I think we're in Detroit.
Hey,
do we get here?
And that's where we wanted to be.
Yeah. So I think it's safe to say we have covered what is excellence for operations and the proven process to achieve it.
Yes.
And again, from the top, that process is the 4 pillars, the path you take, think excellence, focus excellence, process excellence, and people excellence.
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to let us know? One last thing to drop on us before we wrap it up.
What we hope in the whole purpose of doing this podcast is for people to actually use it. If from what we hung here, you can use it, please do. If you would like some more instruction, that's what McClaskey Excellence Institute, which is McClaskeyExcellence.com. We will be glad. We do virtual training, so you don't even have to travel. We would like every one of your podcast listeners to actually get their operations to be closer to extraordinary operations and get it right every time. And if we can help them do that, that's what we would like to do.
Yeah. I like to wrap up every episode by asking this question. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, your clients, everything lost with your departure.
Okay.
With the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What would that be? Those 3 pieces of wisdom.
So 3, that's a very thoughtful question. I would say the first thing is you should actually have a standard that says we're going to get it right every time.
1.
That's the first thing is that you should set people up for 100% success.
2.
And that when things are wrong, the first thing you should figure out is what did you do that caused that mistake to be made, even if it was actually another person that made it.
Extreme ownership. I love it. This has been a lot of fun. How can we connect with you? If we are interested, you got our attention, we want to reach out to you. Maybe we have questions. Maybe we want to work with you. What's the best way to connect?
Oh, thank you for asking. Our website is McClaskeyExcellence.com. Our email is info@McClaskeyExcellence.com. And we would love to hear from you.
This is my North Star, this last question.
Okay.
Who do you respect and admire in the industry? If this person was a guest on the show, or people, if you have multiple people,
yeah.
Who do I need to get on the show?
Okay. And the greatest mentors that I've had, who have actually the ones who created the system I'm describing, first would be Tom Crosby, who's the president of Powell Sud Service. And he was the one that along with Powell Barger, got this implemented in Powell's. I mean, they largely created it, and I feel so privileged to have learned directly from them. The second would be Horst Schulze, the legendary leader of Ritz-Carlton. When Ritz-Carlton grew the brand in North America, it was Horst Schulze that actually did it, designed it. He is a phenomenal leader, and it was such a pleasure to learn from them. Both times Ritz-Carlton won the Baldrige Award. I was their consultant, which means I got a lot of learning directly from Horst Schulze. So he is an absolutely fantastic leader. And by the way, his latest book is Excellence Wins. I would highly recommend that, by Horst Schulze. And the third one were the two co-owners of the second restaurant that won the Baldrige Award. I also got the pleasure of being their consultant, is Ken Schuler and Brian Nolan. They were the leaders that took the two K&N brands, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue and Mighty Fine, to be the only second restaurant to win the Baldrige Award. And those are absolutely phenomenal leaders, and the amount of wisdom they have to create they created role model companies as designated by the United States only process for doing that. So it's not just my opinion.
Okay.
They are just phenomenal leaders.
And I'm typing away over here because I took the note. Everyone you mentioned, I had Horst Schulze on the show. I'm trying to find out what episode number it is.
Oh,
he was episode 613.
Wow.
And we cover his book in that episode. So if you want to get a little teaser of what that book's all about, episode 613, Horst Schulze on the 24 standards of service. And I think that was in his book.
Yes, that would be part of his book. Yes.
Yeah, it was a great episode. You got to check it out. And I think the other names you gave me, Tom, look out. I'm coming after you. Ken and Brian, I'd love to get you guys on the show. And I'll do what I can to make it happen. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
The pleasure's mine. I literally cannot do what I do without people like you being willing to make time to share your knowledge, to pay it forward. This is where I say, David, my man, there is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Thank you.
Cheers.